Hello and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. For those of you who haven't seen these videos, welcome and welcome back if you have. I'm so grateful that for all the messages and just the sharing that you guys have been sharing with one another, the emails I've been receiving, and I am still working on responding to those. So thank you for your patience. I've been away for a few days. So I'm going to go a little bit into the energies that I've been feeling, seeing, etc. And then I'm just going to go in a little flow. So I did film a video while I was on vacation with my husband, and it didn't record. It is what it is, right? It wasn't meant to. And I was guided to spend as much time in the water as possible, and I followed through with that, definitely. I was in the water until I got pruny, and I still didn't want to come out. Water, water, water. Also, some of the energies that I've been feeling is we've been receiving a lot of activations, downloads, upgrades, whatever words resonate with you to label what it is that's happening in our bodies and in our fields, so to speak, our consciousness in this ascension journey from many different planetary systems, lots of Sirius. Alcyone was part of this energy that I was feeling. There was another one, I just can't think of the name of it right now, but I'll think of it later perhaps and add it in the note section. But it's been a lot for me. The energies are all about receiving. And I think I posted that before I went on vacation. Let's just receive, 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 allow, 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 and trust. And so for myself, I was fighting those, I was resisting a little bit. And as soon as I just relaxed and was like, I'm just not going to, obviously this isn't working out. I tried to post something and I looked at my YouTube and it never posted. So I could go on and on, but it's just about, for me, I'm wanting to just be a sponge right now. I want to just relax. I want to get a lot of sleep. I'm having that urge to eat really cleansing, clear, organic fruits and vegetables, which I, of course, was on vacation. So I was finding difficulty doing that while I was on vacation without having the same thing over and over and over again. So that's where I'm at. I just wanted to share that with you guys in this ascension process. Quite a few dreams. I always dream a lot, but lots of downloads and activations in the dreams, connecting with loved ones. I've been doing some reading about astral dynamics, which is very new to me. I know I've astral projected before many, 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 many times. I just didn't know I was doing it. So I'm learning about that a little bit. So I just wanted to share that's kind of where I've been at. But I'm just going a little flow from here. So those are the messages that I've been feeling as far as where I'm at in the ascension cycle. You guys might be on the flip side and you might be feeling super energized and just ready to just jump in and dive into that next project. I'm not quite there yet. I have that desire, but I'm kind of right in that middle stage where I'm just kind of building up. I'm like a bear preserving all of this energy. I'm hibernating, right? And now I'm getting ready to essentially come out of the cave, so to speak, very soon. So we'll see what comes through. I invite you just to kind of close your eyes. Just take some deep breaths in and some long exhales. I've been focusing a lot on breathing. So there is some energy coming through, some emotions that are going to clear for some people. So I'm just going to go into that. This is for the collective, but you might feel this as I share this with you as well. So I haven't done this in a few days, and I just want to share. It's interesting. I've been doing it on my own. I speak to myself all day long, light language. But when I set my intention that this be for the collective experience, I just want to share briefly. if you've ever had an energy session with an energy worker like myself, or maybe you are an energy worker, which we all are, but a Reiki session or an attunement, whatever it might be, we get often as a healer, we're all healers, but I'm going to refer to myself for now in this, for the purpose of this description, we move energy around. And so right off the bat, when I set my intention to connect with the collective experience that's essentially watching these videos, or that will become somehow connected, that we're all connecting into. And from my perspective, there's many collectives within the collective, but I already feel it's a lot going on in the throat, communication. And as soon as I recognize that, or I feel it, some clearing starts to happen. And in addition to that, burps, coughs, moving energy around happens. And essentially, the reason I'm sharing this is we are all transducers or conduits or whatever you want to call it. We are moving energy around. And by us using our intention to assist others and to be of service to the all, we are assisting the all in clearing cords, clearing karmic imposition. And guys, I see this from one perspective. There are so many. And this is not saying, oh, we're clearing karma for this person or that person. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of cords and entanglements that you, as a light worker, are helping to clear just by being you. So by me just setting my intention and by you connecting in this video, that's how this works. As you guys know, as Reiki healers or people that have been on the receiving end of energy work, energy doesn't have a wall. It is in all things. That's how this works. I can say light language and you can feel it because I'm in the wave that you are in. And we're all part of the same ocean. So it's a ripple that goes out. And that's how this type of interconnectivity works. So I feel guided to share this because in a lot of one-on-one sessions that I've had with people, but not even one-on-one, I'm getting the message that this is just kind of across the board for the collective. There's so many light workers out there that don't realize how important they are because they don't see it themselves. I have a lot of people that go, my third eye is closed. Well, first of all, by saying that your third eye is closed, the word was God, or the word was one, and sorry, I misquote all the time. You get my point. Your words have power. So I invite you to not say that, but perhaps to say something along the lines of, my third eye is, I'm open to receive and see through this third eye presentation in my intuition. In an intuitive manner, I now see all that is for my highest and greatest good, for the benefit of all, whatever resonates with you, and just being more open and not shutting yourself down. The other message that's coming through, and I'm in flow right now, you guys. So I guess we're going to wait on the light language. It's going to come through at the end. The other message that I'm receiving as I kind of go into this collective view of the field, so to speak, is that many beings out there feel like they're not helping, right? But what we don't realize, myself included sometimes, is that we have such an effect on the field around us just by being who we are. That in itself is enough. We put these expectations on ourselves that we need to measure up in weights and measures. And I'm in flow, guys. So the play on words here is weights, heaviness. When we want to measure up to something, we're weighing ourselves down, essentially, because we are, instead of expecting wonderful things, we're expecting a certain distance to happen in a certain manner, in a certain way, which then bogs us down because we're really multidimensional, multifaceted, diamond-like beings. And so rather than worrying about how, when, where, why, what. It's just let go. That was kind of what I was learning reminded of over the course of the last few days. So what I feel when I go into this work is that there's a lot of people out there that still are not able to speak their truth, or do not feel that they are able to speak their truth, or are not sure how to speak their truth. And it's blocking the intuition. Because as an intuitive being, we then know how to spell out our feelings. And that can be in the form of giving someone a hug, touching someone's hand. Sometimes speaking your truth is just about being present for you. Being present for someone in your classroom, this is a play on words, in our learning experience together, for that person to just acknowledging someone, making eye contact with someone. The starseeds are essentially the bearers of light. Everything is light if you think of it, right? I mean, there's a shadow, there's darker versions of light, and there's lighter versions of light. And I'm not going to get into that. My point is that there's many that I'm making here in case you guys aren't following. The gist of what I'm saying, and that's being shared with me right now, is essentially there's so many beings out there that I'm feeling in this collective wave right now that they don't feel like they're really making a difference when they are. I see it all the time. When I work with someone, I see what they look like on maybe one level or on many levels. It's beautiful. The people that I met, that I've connected with, it makes me emotional every time I work with someone. It's all different. We're all unique individual expressions of source energy. How do you put a lid on that and say, well, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do? It's okay if you don't know. Just be open and let synchronicity show you who to talk to, what to buy at the grocery store, right? Where to take your next step. Maybe that's just a matter of stepping out onto the grass outside and just breathing and letting everything else go for 5 minutes. And then in doing that, that'll help bring up. Sometimes we have so much that we want to say, we don't know how to express it, that our throats are just blocked. And then it makes us feel like, well, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not saying it right. I'm not measuring up to. So I just wanted to share that briefly, because what I'm feeling is that there's a lot of people that are in the collective experience that are feeling this way. So I can share from what I see. We're all creating these beautiful facets of the diamond. One person might be creating the gold. One person might be creating the pink. One person, it's a rainbow. And one person might be a rainbow. And none of the facets are less or more important than the other. Because it's all important to make up the structure of the diamond. I'm just using diamond as an example because that's what I'm drawn to say, connect with right now. So the other thing that's coming through are childhood fears and traumas. Okay, so I promise I'm getting into a little light language, but they're just sharing these pictures with me. So, okay, here we go. We're going to clear some of that right now. And as you stand within your own power and you recognize the truth of the beauty that you are parts of, that you are receiving. stiandrohok endrohok enrohok stiandra ashtarak tuk onohok ha ene. Iana kikine kukueste kimiana hak ukuem oa. Inyak hak inihan ak ono het inek hak oastat istian ak inian ak oa. Voek ikia nuku henek en hashtag ukuenet inoste anuk bohene. Diok okunu kuehen istiaste muku moaenhe. Edu mukuhenet enedu stia kukuen heti stia oku mukuenea. Ukua mueha unukuistia oa mukua el mukua. Duk stia okukua mohok stit inhet istiet oa kukua hestina oku istian da henda. Distiasta okua mohok oasteraha isteraha oat astara. So as you expand your perspective of yourself, you align yourself more fully with that which is seeking to align itself with you. As you see more of what you are capable of, not limiting yourself in a belief structure. So I'm seeing this as in also a connection with many people's childhood traumas. So I'm going to touch briefly on that. As children, we were boundless, timeless. We did not have an architecture that tangled with us, for we were such bearers of light, beings of light, expansive playthings is what I'm hearing, that we allowed ourselves to be unbounded by all of the third dimensional realities is kind of what I'm seeing. But at a certain point in that childhood collaboration, we somehow became entangled with these precognitive, this is all play on words, guys, preconceived, right, versions of expectations of how to behave, of how not to behave, on how to eat, on how not to eat, on when to cry and when not to cry, on when to run around barefoot and when not to run around barefoot, when to dress a certain way and when not to. I'm seeing reference also basically to everything, and it put us in a box here and a box here and a box here and a box here, and pretty soon we became so compartmentalized, that's play on words, right? Mentalized, that this is blocked, and now we're in a box, and our intuition, whereas before, I'm also seeing reference to many people who have forgotten how to cry. I had a beautiful, so this is a sidebar, I had a beautiful session with someone, a woman who, I get a little emotional, who has stage 4 cancer. And she's beautiful. She's a beautiful light worker. I don't know if she realizes how beautiful she is. Most people I work with don't, right? We all have that sometimes. I don't feel, so expansive either. We're humans. We oscillate. But she said she was going to cry, but she wouldn't allow herself to, and she said, "I'm tough." And that was such a definition of what I'm speaking of. Some of us have been taught, it's that song, big boys don't cry, boys don't cry, The Cure, big girls don't cry. We've all been taught this, that we've forgotten how to cry. Then sometimes we cry over the smallest things. Look at a baby. A baby falls down and they cry, and then they get back up and they're fine. What if we had a moment? What if we were all able just to let that cleansing happen? It's a beautiful thing. And for some reason, we've been entrained, for many reasons, that that's not how we're supposed to behave. Running around barefoot, half naked, it's not how we're supposed to behave. It's more important to wear a tie around the neck to choke you and a 3-piece suit with shoes that are stiff and hold you in a rigid composure than it is to walk around barefoot in t-shirt and board shorts. I'm using that as an example. Who chose that for us? Who told us that that's the box we have to conform to? That's all changing. So at some point, and I'm also being guided, this also has to do with our physical structure. What they're showing me, and there's I worked with some beautiful beings who are personal trainers, and Jason's coming to mind, but he's I can't think of it right now, so apologies if you ever watch this video, Jason. Anyways, they're taught to associate physical movement with how a baby moves. We crawl before we walk. So they'll do a lot of exercises with their clients on crawling and the components of walking. You've got to walk before you run. And we've kind of lost that. We've been so stiff and composed and so compartmentalized that it's really challenging for many people to step outside of that box, or if the box starts to move a little bit, they're thrown off balance. Maybe you're not necessarily that way if you're watching this video, but there's always a part of us that is. And we are being asked to go back to our childhood before the trauma set in. Now, of course, there was trauma for some people in the birth canal, in the womb. And that's something we can do with womb work. I've done that before with people. It's beautiful. You could do it on your own. You can go into a meditation, visualize yourself in the womb, and visualize yourself sending yourself love in the womb, sending your mother love in the womb. There's many beautiful exercises, and sometime perhaps I'll do that as a free on this channel. But meditation. Having said that, when we refuse to see who we really are, so what I'm seeing is we are that inner child inside of a box, inside of a box, inside of a box, inside of a box. And it's they're showing me a picture of lab rats, and I'm saying this with love, you guys. Oftentimes, we don't even realize that we have set things up for ourselves in a laboratory-esque way. We respond to certain things in our environment based on how we've been taught to respond. It isn't natural. So we're being invited to go back to crying, going back to not feeling, not judging ourselves for feeling angry, for allowing ourselves to not judge ourselves for judging, because we were taught as a child, for example, that being overweight is ugly. I'm using that as an example. That's a big judgment a lot of people have. We associate certain things when we see people as being a certain way. If a person wears this outfit, they must, they don't fit into this category, therefore they fit into this category. You know where I'm going with that. So we're being invited to recategorize emotions, you know, and feel those emotions. That's where this is closing for a lot of people. And it's being, what they're showing me is it's being rerouted to that laboratory, the rat in the laboratory system. So you've got this maze, and there's a controller that's over here, and let's say that box is a corporate mentality that says you have to clock in, you have to clock out. Now I want to just clarify something here. I'm not recommending that you just say, okay, that's it, take the tie off and quit. There are ways to restructure this so that you can feed your family, so that you can have the 3D base, which is what we live in, but still be less structured about it to where you feel like you are a lab rat. And that's kind of where this is going. But what they're showing me is the lab rats that essentially, you know, they'll stimulate something, and then the rat will go get food from this particular panel because they've been stimulated in a certain way to go to that particular panel. And because of that habit, the dogs that they train, Pavlov's dogs, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's that idea. And really, there's this tunnel over here, but they never go that way. We never go that direction because we're so used to going this direction because of the stimuli that we have taught ourselves to respond to in a certain way through emotions, judgments. So they're going back to what they were saying is, in these boxes, that's not who we are. That is just what we've trained ourselves to operate within. And what they're sharing with me is that it's causing a blockage in the collective for people to really see that they could just step outside of this. I see this maze of lab rats, and here you are, when you could actually just step out over the maze and stand looking at it from an observer point of view, perspective. And so recognizing when we are buying into that system and when we are stimulated by, let's say, a television show, a comment a politician makes, someone we see driving a certain brand name vehicle, wearing a certain brand or type of clothing or non-brand, wearing a certain skin suit in a certain shape, size, color, age, you know, sex, etc., etc., and then being an observer rather than just making that, allowing that stimulus response to lead you into that grouping that you've always been down before. And this will help you come back to the inner child, because children are just, they feel before they are led into their nesting dolls, right? So before, when we were kids, we would see lights and colors and kids see things. And then our parents tell us, don't rub your eyes. I used to rub my eyes, and this is no offense against my mother. I love her. She worked with what she had. You know, all of our parents work with what they have, what they're given. And I would see lights, and I would see those squares, and I would see things, and I would go places, and I was told, don't do that, you're going to hurt your eyes. You know, little things. Parents do that sometimes because they don't know how else to get us to stop, you know, doing what we're doing. Don't do that, it's not good for you. You're going to hurt yourself. So then you associate certain stimuli with pain or being wrong. You know where I'm going with this. This is kind of what they're showing me. And then it's kind of the same thing with the throat. So we are afraid to cry or say something that we're feeling hurt about because it's not appropriate in that particular environment. Do as you say, do as I say, not as, wait, I'm sorry, wrong line. It's about being, children are meant to be heard, or excuse me, children are meant to be seen, not heard. How many of you guys have heard that line? Really? Are they? That's just interesting. So I'm sharing that because this is all what they're showing me is associated with traumatic childhood. Now, this is not as traumatic in the sense of the words they're throwing into mind are neglect and abuse and severe traumas. That's a side completely different from what we're talking about in this, for this particular transcription is what they're sharing. But they do add up. So we're going to do a little light language around that right now. Do endera handera stark hindera stark stiendera hat andera stark tuk stiendera stark ustera hestera endera ek istera stark estistera hastark andoro stark endera stark little work on the third eye. They're also showing me that there are those we don't even realize as a collective when we're judging ourselves and when we're judging others, and they're reminding me that that shuts down your third eye. So if you're not here, you're not here. Well, you can be here, but not here. Meaning you might have your intuition on, but you might not realize it because you're blocking it. So let me say that a little bit more clearly. Well, what they're showing me is there's different groups of judgment that's going on right now. And they're showing me that it can be something like you watch television and you're disgusted. I do it, right? I watch some television show and I'm like, oh, that's just gross. How could that person do that to another human being? Well, I just made a judgment, and that's where I'm invited by my guidance team to go into Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Because that takes you out of judgment and it puts you into forgiveness, acceptance, gratitude, and essentially being in a space of love. Whether you mean it or not, it immediately changes your vibration around that situation, person, place, or thing. And it sets that back rather than you feeding into that feedback looping system of disgust, judgment, belief structure. It allows you to then just shift slightly outside of that, which will then help you to increase your intuition. What's happening is there are people that don't realize how often they're doing it. And that is a blockage. It's like a lens on a camera and it just films it up that much more. Because how can you see out of the camera lens that's fogged up? You can see a little bit, but A, you're not going to realize maybe that you're seeing it even in the first place. B, you're not seeing things for the fullness of what they really are and with clarity. It's a perception that's filming, clouding, and blocking intuition. And then in essence, it's blocking the throat and the center of communication because then you're not speaking with love. You're not speaking from a place of forgiveness. It's coming from a place of Ishtara handra ok ostoshtara esteshtara endra ak indra endra ak istishtara andre het indra stashtara or estere hendra ak itistashtara endra hastashtara or dok osteshtara het indra stashtara or. Stastro star har ok ukuana kua mohok uistianda ha ehen ok oenda en ak ok et stastara ak estestara ak or estara hak estendara astara ak ok oasta et esta. Okay, I'm being also guided to share that sometimes if you're in that place and you just can't seem to get out of it, obviously this toning and light language is helping to shift that energy around the situation that you might find yourself being judged or judging others in. But I'm being guided to share essentially it can be from number one, the box that you were taught to believe from, to perceive from, to experience from, right? Your parents said that person is the way they are, and you said, okay. Your school said this person is wrong, this person is right, and you said, okay. So I'm using those as examples, but it can also be from a fourth or third density perspective. If you find yourself constantly in this place, I went through it recently. I realized it was happening and I went, well, how did this happen? And I found myself going into this. I'm going to use an example. I found myself in a restaurant, and every single person in that restaurant was just eating just bacon and piled food, and everything on the menu was not organic and unhealthy. And I found myself not even realize that I was judging. They're guiding me to share this example with you guys. As a gentle reminder, they're saying that we all have the capacity for this, even when we think or feel that we have moved past these. They will come up at different stages in our development as a reminder of where we are still lacking a higher perspective. I'm in flow right now. And as we witness this, as we become the witness, and the difference is not getting into that space of disgust and just going, isn't this interesting that I'm witnessing all of this activity? And as we become this witness and become this higher perspective and allow ourselves to recognize that we, do not wish to be participating in that reality, B, that we are here to lead by example and not just to say, well, I'm just going to have a pound of bacon because everybody else is. And by recognizing that they are us, essentially, we were there at one point. We might have been there a day or two ago, a week or two ago, a year or two ago. There is no time. So it's, again, not putting ourselves on that I'm better than that person or I'm worse than that person, because that's another form of blockage, right? Judgment. Also expectations and measurements and weights. But recognizing that puts you in an already higher dimensional density vibration, which then allows you to intuitively recognize this. That is a form of your intuition activating, being open, feeding. Your intuition is feeding you with information. You are then receiving your sensory input. You're feeling, let's say, for example, disgust come up, and then you recognize that you're having this disgust about a lot of things. And it stems from this fact that people are asleep, let's say. That could be one end of the spectrum. How often have we felt a judgment because someone is so asleep? Judging can even be, oh, that's so sad that they're not awake. I feel bad for them. It's not a matter of feeling bad for them or feeling sad for them. It's a matter of recognizing that it's bring it to the table. Shine that light out. I'm not going to order that. I'm a vegetarian. Thank you so much, though. Sending that person a little love if they wish to receive it from a non-judgmental aspect. And you can empathize, right? But not sympathize. I guess there's a couple different ways. We can feel sadness, but again, not feeding into that system either. They're all different networks is what they're sharing. There's different levels of judgment. There's different levels of energy in which we may put ourselves into. And I've been there, I do it, and I catch myself and I go, ooh, isn't that interesting? Then as soon as I say, isn't that interesting, I'm not in that anymore. I'm now the observer. So I'm going to talk about that a lot. And so what they're showing is that's when you go into the Ho'oponopono, you open your heart, and you send yourself love first for having that judgment, recognition, feeling, whatever it might be, and then finding out where it stems from. Is it from a childhood association? Is it from, what is it, where is it stemming from? Or just recognizing it in that moment and choosing to clear it. Okay, that's where they were going with this. So the more that we have those, the more it does weigh on us. And what that does is, I'm going to call them, for this purpose of this video, cords. It creates attachments, entanglements, and cords. And as these attachments, entanglements, and cords add up, they make us feel toxic. And we may not even recognize that that's where it's coming from. Now, from another perspective, we could say that those cords and entanglements are coming from outside sources other than ourselves, and that's a whole other video, and that would be correct. At the same time, it's also coming from us because we are connected to everything, and that would be correct. So, however you feel that wherever it's coming from, in that moment, clearing that energy, cutting that cord, clearing and dissolving. I like to say I now clear my judgment around, whatever it might be. I now clear, I cancel, cure, delete, or I clear all energy associated with meat. Not to say that I don't want to advocate being a vegetarian. That's what you believe in and that's your path. Awesome. But in that moment, I'm not going to stand up in the restaurant and tell everybody, you're disgusting, all of you, for eating pig. It's one of the smartest animals. Would you eat your dog? And I'm sharing that. I say this with love, guys. I'm using that as an example. For those of you who are vegetarian out there, you've probably had those moments, right? And I'm just recently a vegetarian, and I don't always follow that strictly 100%. Every once in a while, I eat an egg, or I'll have, there's little things I kind of fall backwards on from time to time. That's something that I am on my own journey about. So again, not judging yourself when you fall off that wagon, and blessing what you're eating and sending it love and ho'oponoponing is also very important. But for this purpose, we're talking about just judgment. I'm using that as an example. It could be anything, really. But instead, it's sending yourself love. It's sending that situation love. It's sending the animal love. It's sending Mother Earth love. Whatever it is around. If it's anything, a politician. You might be someplace surrounded by a bunch of people who are from a different political view than you. And you might stand up and say, well, you're all wrong. Well, that just closed this down. Yeah, your throat's open, but are you speaking from your heart of love? So a judgment would be saying something is wrong, right? Not to say that I don't feel that certain things I agree with, but I'm not going to judge. That's their own journey. That doesn't mean I'm going to advocate it, right? I'm not going to support it. So I'm just sharing that from one perspective. There's a lot of perspectives. And we could talk about so many things, but they're just kind of guiding me to end on that note. So in love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment again with myself and with one another. And I hope that kind of helped clear some of that energy around judgments, maybe bring light to certain things that might have been bogging you down. So one last thing, inviting yourself to clear. I'm going to do a light language I've done it before, clearing judgment. So you're more than welcome to go back and look up those videos. I do it a lot. I'll do another one coming up soon, but you can do it yourself. I now clear, and you visualize white light just flushing out all of these entanglements that are attached to you. And sometimes I'll do it with certain belief systems. I now clear all judgment around this belief system, that belief system. I clear all judgment around, sometimes I'll see, I'll see someone who's perhaps I don't know. I'm using a lot about vegetarianism, but I'm just using that as an example. But, you know, I was driving behind someone the other day who had this sticker of a dead deer and, you know, I heart guns and this, you know, that Chevy, you know, this shine where you're peeing on the other car because it isn't the same car you drive. I mean, we're talking one giant sticker in front of me that was like, ah, which is awesome that the universe brought that into my awareness because they were reminding me, hey, are you going to judge this guy or are you going to send this person a little love light and clear your judgments around what this person's choices are in his universe? I was really glad it was a sticker of a dead deer and it wasn't a real dead deer. I probably may have not made the best choice in that moment. But again, it's bringing that to my awareness, and I was just, okay, I clear all energy around people that hunt because that doesn't make them an awful person. They're a human being too. And it might be my grandpa that hunts. It isn't, but I'm using it as an example. Does that mean I'm going to hate my grandfather for being a hunter? No, I'm going to love him because I love him because he's my grandfather. That doesn't mean I agree and support what he does. I'm using that as an example. It could be a lot of different things. So we're constantly being triggered with those opportunities to be that witness and to go into your space. And last but not least, as you clear those cords, it helps you expand out your field. And then they're going to feel that energy. And it might even just be a certain energy that they might just go, you know, I'm not in the mood to hunt today. I'm using that as an example. It really does work that way, you guys. I didn't send that or project it into his mind, but I did project into my field and anybody that chooses to be in my field acceptance, love, and letting go of that need for, you know, just letting go and being open. And I guess control, because oftentimes people kill animals because they need that control in order to feel powerful, right? So if you are with someone and you're giving them this opportunity to just be in that space, they're just going to feel different. And I'm using that as one example. I hope you guys can see that this is like so multifaceted. So I know this is a long one for this first video back. In love and light, you guys. Namaste.